am PM Kester, and welcome to the How to Take a Break podcast. This is a wellness-centered podcast presented by PM Kester Enterprises that examines the different types of breaks people take and why you need to incorporate breaks into your life. Let's start the episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Take a Break, the podcast. This episode is how to take a break to be present. And joining me is the fabulous, the wonderful Jamie Martin. She has over 17 years in the tech industry. I know we're going to touch on that and she's going to correct me and let me know everything about that. But she is really on here because of her background as a leadership and life coach. Jamie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Especially right now, I think being present is so important with where we are, both as a society in general, but also with spring coming.
Oh, yes.
It's a good time to really reconnect with being in our space. So yeah. I'm excited to be here and talking about it.
Let's see, I didn't even think about how the seasons play into us being present. Okay, this is going to be a good conversation. We're going to get started with this. I can already tell. Well, Jamie, let everybody know a little bit of your background. I mentioned the tech thing and, of course, the life coach thing. So just let us know a little bit about your background, you. And
definitely. So I graduated as an engineer way back when, and proceeded to go into technology right away. But I had always had a passion for leadership development. You know, it's one of those things where I got the bug early on with some exposure that I had through just kind of accidental things, right? Like in college, I attended this thing called Leadershape, and it was a week-long leadership program, and I fell in love with all of the concepts. I was like, I could eat this up. Just eat it up. And so in my tech career, I kind of kept moving up in my career and always felt like there was something else I wanted. And I kept going back to the coaching concept. And a few years ago, when I got to basically the top of my field and was miserable, I was just miserable. I was like, I'm not happy. I enjoyed some of the day work, but as one of my old bosses used to tell me, he said, really think about what lights you up when you leave the office and focus in on that. And what I found that lit me up was really working with my team and mentoring them and coaching them. I was less of a manager and far more of a coach to them. And that's what lit me up. And finally I took the plunge and said, you know what, I'm going to go be a leadership and life coach and take what I've learned through technology and really bring it out, because I was a product manager, which our job as product managers is to really explore the problems people are facing with a product and find the root cause to that. So I always talk about how you can't take something at face value. And so that actually translates really well in coaching, because when somebody says something like, I just don't have time. Well, that same sentence for one person can be very different than that same sentence for somebody else. And so over my years, I actually learned through my career in technology to dive deeper into that background. So that's a little bit about, my background from, my career perspective, but also I love working with women in particular, especially moms. I'm a mom to a 6.5-month-old, and it's a fun age, but he started rolling across the floor, rolling.
And that's just the first. Yes, that's the first. It's before we start crawling and walking, and it's like, catch me if you can.
Yes, exactly. And so I love working with women in that context of, hey, how are you handling your life, and making sure you still create your life even when you're helping nurture somebody else. And it's such a key piece of everything. And this is really, I started realizing the being present piece a lot when I've been working with my son. Oh, that sounds terrible. Being present with my son, playing with him and whatnot. I was like, oh, where is my head right now? I'm not with him. And so really had to start practicing being with him, because I don't want to look back and be like, I don't remember his first year because I was somewhere else in my head.
I'm already letting you know, this is the introduction, and Jamie has already dropped like 3 or 4 different gems about, when we reach what we think our goal is, right? You were a manager. I'm a government science. That's the big thing with us, of course, within any agency, is trying to reach these things. How can I team lead? How can I make section chief? How can I make branch chief? And so many of us reach these goals, I guess these external goals, these business goals, but we get there and something is still missing. And so it's interesting to me that you were cognizant enough to recognize that, kept moving up, but kept feeling like there was something else. And you recognize that you were still here, but something was still missing. I thought that was a good takeaway. And then the one that I have put in a box, this is probably, you're going to probably end the episode, is, are you still creating your life while nurturing others? I feel like that's going to be an underlying theme of this episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially, I mean, right now, women are just taking the brunt of nurturing. I mean, before COVID, the brunt was already on women, right? Especially the age group that I believe you fit into and I fit into, which is where that, like, we have younger children, so to speak. They're still not independent, and we have older parents. And so you're caretaking on both sides, and it's really, now with COVID. Ooh, I almost like flipped my whole entire laptop.
You're so like me.
I use my hands a lot. Yeah. But with COVID, it's even more of that work. And so it's really being able to say to ourselves, like, I have the permission to create the life I need and I want, while still giving of myself. It's how do we do that?
Okay. So with that being said, we're trying to create this life that we want, while taking care of our parents, taking care of our family, working in the middle of doing all of this, because a lot of us are still working, but from home. And as I tell everyone, working from home and working longer. I feel like I'm working definitely longer hours than I was when I was in the office, and I was already working long hours in the office. I feel like I've expanded that now since I'm at home. So juggling all these pieces now, trying to be present. What does being present mean, and why is it so important?
Yeah. Being present is really about connecting to the full experience of the moment, right? It's taking it all in and letting it wash right into you, right? Wash all the way over you and embed into you. So it's really being able to also connect with your intuition more. So not just going from here, from the headspace, but also connecting to what your gut's saying, what your heart's saying in the moment, right? It's all about being in the moment and giving yourself space to experience that moment overall. So it's really important for us to be present, because it allows us to see the opportunities in front of ourselves. And it could be opportunities for career growth. It could be opportunities for how to actually take care of yourself more, how to give yourself permission to take a break. It could be opportunities that, friendships that come up about that. If you're not in that moment, you wouldn't even recognize that, oh, wait a second, I have a kindred spirit right now, right here. And let's actually develop that kindred spirit.
That's very good. And Oprah Winfrey aha moments right now, but because you talked about taking things like, don't take things at face value. That's something that you deal with when you're looking at people in the coaching industry. And being present allows you to see opportunities in front of you. And so that's the face value type things. Because I think that a lot of times we don't. We don't see that we have the opportunity to take a break. We just think about, we get in our head and think about all the things that we have to do. What is on our to-do list for the day? I have to cook, I have to clean, I got to take this person to the dentist, I have to do this, I have a report due. And so we get so caught up in the haze that we don't see what's in front of us. Whereas I have a worksheet that I give people that, write down your day. Sit down, be still, write it out. Because a lot of times if you do that, that allows you to look and see like, well, I do have all this stuff going on, but I actually have like an hour gap here, 2 hours here, right. 30 minutes here, things that I can navigate like, oh, this 2 hour gap, I actually could do yoga. I keep talking about I don't have the time. I could do yoga. Right. 3 hour gap here that usually is me sitting in front of a screen or something like that, which again could be self-care for you, but there's that gap there for you. Like, I always wanted to teach my daughter how to bake. There's a 3 hour gap right here. But a lot of times we don't see, we're not present, and we can't see what's in front of us. I also think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the reason why we get some things, we finally arrive in these positions, we get promoted and things like that, but we don't appreciate it. We don't sit in it because we're already thinking about the next promotion, the next,
completely,
the next thing. So we miss right here. Like, well,
completely. Oh yeah, for sure. I actually talk a lot about celebrating your wins. I actually had this conversation with my husband this morning. We did the to-do list for the weekend. And the way I do to-do lists is kind of like, these are the things I'd like to get done. I don't have to get any of it done. Right. Like that's kind of my to-do list. And this morning I was like, guess what? We already knocked 2 things off our to-do list. And he's like, yeah, but we still have a lot more to do. And I was like, I'm celebrating the win. Right. We got 2 things done. Like, come on, this is exciting. And it's celebrating those wins, whether they're small, like knocking 2 things off your to-do list, or like you said, you get the promotion. Celebrate it. Enjoy it, especially when we move into the thing that we wanted. Oftentimes there's something new for us to learn. So, and now we've got a whole new level of confidence we have to build, and a whole new level of experience that we're like, wait a second, I wanted this promotion, but I don't know what I'm doing. I actually worked with somebody a couple of years ago who got a new job that he wanted, but he was like, I don't know anything about this this company. Like, I don't know what they do and stuff. And he was about to do his homework before he even started the job. And I said, you know what, take the moment. No one expects you from day one to know everything. Right. Allow yourself to enjoy the process of being new and observing and being okay with making a mistake from day one, because everybody's going to expect you to not know anything. Right. And that's okay. And it's great to celebrate just being like, I got the new job. I got it. It's awesome. I'm going to enjoy it. And enjoy being a learner again, being present to being like, I really don't know this stuff. This is exciting. That's it. Yeah. Because sometimes, like I said, we miss our moment because we're not present, or we get ahead of ourselves. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like, jump into the next thing. Yeah. Calm down. We're not there yet. So exactly. So do you have an exercise that you use to be more present that maybe our listeners can use in their lives? Yeah, for sure. So one of the things I do a lot is when I start to realize I'm somewhere else in my head, is I just take a pause, take a nice slow breath in, slow breath out. And then I just really start to look around, look at the details in my life, what's happening. And so for anybody who's listening, take a moment right now and look around you. What do you see? And close your eyes for a moment. And what do you hear? And then what do you smell? And what can you feel? Can you feel the clothes on your body, for example, or the floor under your feet? Or if you're lucky enough to be on a beach, can you feel the sand in between your toes? What do you taste? Just give yourself a moment to really take in all your senses. And then also connect with how you're feeling. Can you feel the smile on your face if you're happy? Are your shoulders relaxing as you're doing it? Connect to your body a little bit. And then go ahead and open your eyes and really continue to take in that moment and allow yourself to continue to walk through it and let it embody you. This is something I started practicing doing when I found myself mentally at work with my 6-month-old in my lap. And I started being like, wait a second, I want to be with my 6-month-old. I want to be present. I want to experience him. And so I would just look at all the details. I'd look at what, if he was playing with his hands, I'd look at his little hands and see what they looked like. I would take in the smells. I've taken the sounds around me. And then I started being present to really the clothes on my body or the blanket wrapped around us. And it really allowed me to re-engage in that moment and say, oh, here's this beautiful human being that I get to be part of his journey. And you don't have to go so in depth with it because it can be short, right? Like it can just simply be like, all right, I'm maybe not close your eyes if you're in the middle of like a concert hall, for example, unless it's a classical musical, that could work. I've definitely done that before. You're at risk for falling asleep though. I do love classical music, but if you close your eyes, you are at risk for falling asleep. But it's a great way to kind of reconnect and be like, oh, I'm having a conversation with somebody, but my head went somewhere else. Let me reconnect to their words, right? And so you can take pieces of it as you're going through your day, and depending on the situation, connect with that one piece. If you're having dinner, for example, and you find yourself just shoveling it down, be like, wait a second.
Right.
I have no idea what I just tasted. Just threw it down my throat. Oh, that was asparagus. That tasted really good. Maybe I'll enjoy that for a moment, right? So you can take little pieces of that to help reconnect you, but it's acknowledging the pause that's really critical to say, oh, I'm somewhere else, and give yourself permission to reconnect to the present moment.
I will say that listeners, if you actually close your eyes when she told us a little bit ago, that's game changing. The things that I thought of when I opened my eyes, because yes, I was over here closing my eyes and as well, was that I felt like it gives you a new appreciation for where you are, the sensations, and also clarity. There was clarity, like, when you're thinking about just the release, what do I hear? What do I see? What am I feeling right now? Because a lot of times we don't, because we don't put how we feel. We only connect of how we think others make us feel or how we think we should be feeling. When do you take a pause, as you said, and just consider all these things and consider, how do I feel at this moment? How do I feel? What do I hear? What do I see? And just the appreciation of, like, I'm sitting in an office space. A lot of people don't have that luxury to have like an office space in their home. I hear the birds. A lot of people did not hear the birds this morning. They didn't wake up yet. So an appreciation of that. And I think we just paused. Your exercise was maybe a minute long, a minute and a half. It doesn't take long to just take a pause. This is something that you can do when you wake up in the morning. Like you said at a concert hall, not while you're driving, y'all.
No, not while you're driving.
Not driving, but maybe in the parking lot. I would just I remember sitting in my driveway some years ago when I was going through a stressful time, and just sitting in my car and just breathing, getting myself together, almost having to kind of release from work and recenter myself for going into my house, just making the shift.
I love that.
And go in. So I think awesome. That was, take a pause. That was powerful. Well,
and I love that, especially with COVID right now. A lot of people are like we were talking about before we started, in their house, and they're like, how do I transition from work to my day life? Doing that exact thing. Take a pause. You've got your laptop in front of you. Just pretend that you're still working if you're in an environment where you don't have an office, and close your eyes and give yourself that moment to let yourself release the work moment, so you can then go and be present with your family or your partner or whoever you're spending your time with at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so you just led us on this wonderful exercise of taking a pause, and talked about how taking a pause has impacted you. How do you incorporate breaks into your day? Because of course, this is a podcast that you're on. We're talking about how to take a break. So what are the breaks that you take for yourself? How do you incorporate them into your day? And do you have any tips that you can offer the listeners on taking a break?
For sure. So taking breaks are so important. It's funny. I'm a sleeper. I love sleeping. So my breaks are typically naps. I don't get to do that every day. For as much as I would love to nap every day, I don't get to nap every day. But what I am is I'm very intentional about saying, you know what, today I really need that nap. And so one of the biggest things that I've learned to do is give myself permission to say, you know what, I had a lot of things that I was planning on doing today, but today it's nap day. And I know that once I've taken my nap, not only will the rest of the day actually allow me to do more and be more present, but tomorrow I'll actually be able to have the clear head and move through the day easier because I allowed myself to take the nap that I needed. It's a little harder to do when you're in an office, but while we're all at home, if you're a nap person, definitely take a nap in the day, block it off, just let yourself have that space. But the other thing that my husband and I started doing is being really intentional in the morning about looking at our day and saying, when are we going to go for a walk? And so we like to walk together. That's a break for us as a family, especially during COVID. We're like, you know what, we're going to take this time together because we don't know once this is over if we're going to have that same luxury, so to speak, right?
Right.
So every morning he looks at his calendar, I look at my calendar, and then we try to match that up to our son's nap schedule and go, oh, okay, it's 2:00 today. Yesterday it might've been 11:00 that we were going, but we really create that routine and the flexibility within it to say that today is not the same as yesterday in terms of our schedule. But by setting it up in the morning, we allow ourselves to have the expectation of okay, this is when we're going to go. And that's really worked really well for both of us. And something that, once my husband does go back into the office, because I work from a home office, I'll continue to do. I'll continue having that intentionality of saying, okay, so when am I going to go for a walk? And do that. So that's really how I incorporate breaks into my day. At a couple examples. I have many examples throughout the day that I just, my cup of coffee, that is considered a break for me. When you can finish a full cup of coffee with a baby,
yes,
that's
it.
You've won the day. You've won the day.
Any cup of coffee or meal that you can enjoy. Oh my goodness. I don't think I had to eat hot food until my kids were maybe 7.
Right. like, wait, what? What was that? Yeah.
It's almost a shock. Like, oh, food is hot. It's supposed to be hot.
It's supposed to be hot. How did that happen? or like not eat their crumbs, right? So the other thing so some tips for people in general is really be intentional. I think that's the key piece is, and it doesn't have to be, this big ordeal thing. I think it's really being intentional with flexibility. So allowing yourself to say, okay, well, how do I feel today? I need to get out. Maybe I need to get out, or I need to do that yoga, like you mentioned earlier. And then also create some accountability, because one of the things we get trapped in when it comes to breaks is that, oh, somebody just scheduled a meeting over my break calendar, right? Mm-hmm. But if you have a meeting scheduled with somebody else that is for the intention of taking a break, and you're breaking together, now you've actually got a reason to say, oh, I'm sorry, I already have something planned.
Right. I have
right. And it also allows that other person the opportunity to have a break too. Now, the key is to not talk about things that you shouldn't talk about if you're like going for a walk together, right? You know, the number of times I have to be like, husband, Chris, we are not talking politics right now. We're not talking COVID. Let's just enjoy nature around us on our walk, right? So you do want to make sure that whatever break you're creating is truly a break from everything that's going on. And then also breaks are fun. Reconnect to the break is fun, and it's something that re-energizes you, because that's how you're going to continue to do it, right? Instead of putting it aside, it's really creating that container that allows you to say, oh, I get to go have some fun now.
It is. Oh, I love that. Yes, definitely. Be intentional. Yes. Be intentional. I love it. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I have like a notebook full of stuff. So you guys are going to get all these breakaways at the end of this episode. But in the meantime, in between time, Jamie, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, your websites, and other pertinent information that you want to know.
Definitely. So I am on Facebook and Instagram at Jamie Martin Coaching. And then I'm also on LinkedIn at Jamie Martin. And then this is really easy. I just keep using Jamie Martin. Because my website is also www.jamiemartincoaching.com. And for any women that are out there, I did just recently start a Facebook group called Women Igniting Our Brilliance. And this is a group to really inspire ourselves to continue to shine on our journey and, help hold people accountable to what they're looking at doing. I am going to try to do monthly challenges. So the last challenge we did was how to say yes to yourself.
Oh, good. Good. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Instead of saying yes to everybody else, what are you going to do for yourself today? So I need, all the women out there are more than welcome to join us on that group. And you can also email me at jamie@jamiemartincoaching.com if you have questions.
All right, Jamie, thank you so much. Everybody else, stick around for the 3 breakaways. And we're back. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed this episode, and I definitely enjoyed the interactive piece. I'm going to put that in the notes, the estimated time stop, so you can pause and really taking in what it means to be present with the exercise that Jamie Martin did with us. But now for our 3 breakaways. Breakaway number 1, being present allows you to see opportunities in front of you. So many times we try to move from one thing to the next and going fast. I got to accomplish this. My kids have to do this. We need to be here. Bam, 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 bam. And we never take the opportunity to pause. And if we did, if we took a pause, if we were allowing ourselves to be present, we could really see the opportunities in front of our face. So many times we are looking for things that pass us by. This could be relationships. This could be our so-called dream job, that house, a good friend. We're always looking, busy looking, and we miss what's right in front of our face. So that is something I thought was a powerful breakaway. about how it was so important to be present. So being present allows you to see opportunities in front of your face, right in front of you. Breakaway number 2, take a pause. I mean, I think that was the underlying theme of the whole episode. And Jamie really drove it home with her exercise. Take a pause right where you are. You can do this every day. Wake up in the morning before you get going downstairs, or even if you are downstairs with your coffee. Take a pause. Take in where you are. How does it smell? What do you hear? For me, the pause that I took with her was a good time to take in, I started thinking about what I was grateful for, just being in my space during this time of COVID, having a home, having a place that I could quietly work, semi-quietly with the kids. And I know you guys heard some of our background noise with families, but what a blessing to have this environment, to be where I was. And, all of that came to me in the brief break that I took while we were in the middle of an episode. So I want you to take a break. I always tell you guys 15 minutes to do this. We showed that you could do this in like less than 3 minutes, Take a pause. Take a pause. The final breakaway. Breakaway number 3. Give yourself permission to take a break. I am always trying to push this out here that you have the time. But so many times, we look at the schedule and we see I have the time to do X, Y, and Z, but we won't do it. Why? We don't give ourselves permission to do this, especially my overworked and overwhelmed women, because we are always trying to help someone else, do something for someone else, my kids, my husband, my sister, my friends, my family. Give yourself, not them, yourself permission to take a break. I really enjoyed this episode. I hope you did too. I can't wait to talk to you next time. But until then, take the time to take a pause and take a break. Bye. Thanks for taking a break to listen to the episode. Connect with me at PM Kester, that's KESTER on Instagram, or email thekester@gmail.com. As always, subscribe, rate, and review us on your platform of choice. Until next time, find a little time to take a break. Bye.